Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. Joining me now is my pack, TalkTV contributor and lawyer Paula Rhone-Adrien, TalkTV presenter Richard Tice, and international editor, that's a wonderfully fancy title, Isabel Oakeshott. Welcome to all of you. You can see you've all missed me, even if your eyes and expressions are telling a different story. Richard, our prisons joined the long list of things that simply aren't working in this country. What is going on? Why does nothing work anymore? Why can't we even keep dangerous terrorists in prison?
It's got worse since you've been away, Piers.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this is nothing short, actually, of gross negligence. That's all it is. I mean, if you and I said, let's go and run a few prisons, I'm pretty sure the first thing we would do is to say, when vehicles come in and out, we should check the roof, inside and underneath. It is the most basic stuff. Here's the thing, though. It cannot be just this one individual on their own. There's CCTV everywhere. If you actually look at the entrance and exit of that prison, there are 2 secure zones that vehicle will have gone through. There has to be, in my view.
I mean, I've gone into some of these prisons to interview people or whatever, or to see people, and the levels of security you have to go through is absolutely mind-boggling to me, Isabel, that anyone could actually, in this day and age, get out of one of these things.
Which is why I think it was absolutely an inside job. There will have been multiple people, I am sure, that's my instinct, assisting this individual. And we know from the testimony of so many prison officers and other sources that there is a huge amount of corruption in our prisons, a huge amount of drugs and bribery, and all sorts will have gone on to assist.
But do you feel like I do that it is indicative of a wider malaise in the country about almost everything?
100%.
Everywhere I go now, people say, what is wrong with this country?
Nothing is working. We talk about this every day, don't we? And every day you see more and more examples, whether it's the collapsing schools, bits of the NHS not working. You get on a train, inevitably it's late. You ring a call centre, no one answers because
can't see a doctor, you can't do this, you can't do that.
There's a high volume of calls. Nothing works.
And Paula, the problem is, as always, it's the people with the least amount of money and ability to get through all this cost of living crisis and so on who suffer the most, right?
Absolutely. And you see that frustration spilling out onto the street. You see it in relation to youth thinking that it's OK to arrange a raid on JD Sports or wherever it is. You see protesters, but members of the public attacking protesters because they don't feel that the police are acting in their best interests and allowing them to get on with their daily work. You see it in relation to what's happening to the ULEZ cameras and attacks on ULEZ cameras because
you also see it in what's happening with the NHS, which I'm a massive fan of, and I've had good reason to be a massive fan of over many decades with family and friends and so on, and particularly Great Ormond Street, where I had a cousin who was a consultant neurologist there for kids for many years and brilliant. But in the middle of all this, you read a story, the advice for staff at Great Ormond Street Hospital urges them to stop using gendered language in conversation. Suggests the wrong pronouns can make people feel disrespected, invalidated, dismissed, triggered, alienated, or often all of these things. And they've stopped people to use words like boy or girl or man or woman. And I'm sorry, Richard, how are they finding the time?
Exactly.
Right,
this is the point.
To do this stuff. But secondly, where are the rights, I'm going to say this again, where are the rights of people like me who would like to be called a man? Or Isabel, who I suspect would like to be called a woman when she goes to a hospital? Or a boy or a girl? Where are the rights of the vast majority of people to carry on being called what they damn well want to be called?
I just want people in the hospitals, doctors and nurses, to be focusing on looking after the patients.
Right.
Nothing else. It's the time and energy, not just the money, the resource that's wasted
and
on
the bowing
this
is about
guidance
this
and this
woke
nonsense.
mentality that everything has to now be inclusive, even if in the process it excludes the majority of people from what they want.
And actually, Richard, you know, the truth is that the doctors and nurses, the healthcare professionals, actually also want what you want. There's nothing that exasperates them more than these endless memos.
Have you ever met a doctor who wants to
round.
use gender-neutral
They're
language?
not
It's
interested
absolute
in
claptrap. Paula, I'm coming to you last because I know what's going to happen. You're going to launch a spirited, ludicrous defence.
And I'm going to be right, and you're all going to agree
Go
with
on, then.
me because you know I'm right. This, and I am disappointed in you all, is actually a good news story.
Why?
It's a good news story
Why?
because it's people being respectful to people.
Really?
And you say, what about the rights of you, Piers, to be called a man? Who said you weren't going to be called
If I go
a man?
to Great Ormond Street, they won't call me a man.
Well, as I understand it, the guidelines are that you will be asked how you prefer to be referenced as. You will then explain how you prefer
how
to be
can we
referenced,
be with
and then you will be referenced.
But when
in the
there's
way.
a war-
Aren't you happy with that, Piers?
Can you imagine going
Aren't you happy?
Can you imagine going to Ukraine right now and saying to those people, do you feel disrespected, invalidated, dismissed, triggered, alienated, or all of those things by the wrong pronoun?
Why did
Do you think we've lost our perspective on reality of what it feels like to actually be oppressed? It's not about being called the wrong pronoun. It's about being bombed by Russian barbarians. That is oppression. This is nonsense.
I think that's a poor argument because we're not equating the NHS.
I just did.
We're not
I just
equating
did.
what the NHS are attempting to do to make certain people feel better with
Look,
the horror.
their job is not making people feel better in that.
This whole
in
pronoun
Ukraine.
thing is utterly
It is
ridiculous.
absurd.
Because the truth is,
For you,
the truth is, if I
for you
decide,
and for
if
who
I
else?
decide, well, it's a bit like the number of letters now on the LGBTQ. Do you know the rest of it?
What are
now?
they all?
2 plus
QIA,
something, right? Nobody knows. It's all complete nonsense.
So I understand that there are even members of the LGBTQ
Who don't know
plus,
themselves.
Community.
You've forgot
who,
2 plus.
Who would agree with you?
Yes.
And so I can understand that sometimes, in terms of marketing, branding, getting a message out there, people get it wrong.
But Paula,
but that isn't
Paula,
a reason to
it's
suggest
not a coincidence.
that we don't need to do
the
that.
quality of the service and outcomes of the NHS are declining
Because there
by
are
the
people-
month because they're wasting time.
There
and
are
our
people
cash
at Great Ormond.
on this nonsense.
People at Great Ormond Street who are having to come up.
know that that's
having
nonsense.
to come up
It's
with
We
this
are
not
kind
not
of
struggling.
nonsense.
Our NHS is not struggling because there are people out there
It
who
is the focusing
care
on the
about
wrong
how
thing.
you
I
reference.
want
Our
Great
NHS
Ormond
is
Street staff
struggling.
to do what they've always done so brilliantly and become world leaders in, which is take care of sick kids. I don't want them worrying or fretting
tell
about
Rishi
whether
Sunak
somebody is a
to
they,
look
them.
after them.
It is bullshit. Anyway, let me just turn to something else which is bullshit, which is there's something doing the rounds online. It's probably an old one, I don't know, but it's fun. It's about the perfect tea. It's a meme about the perfect tea. Somebody has come up here with a sort of grid, and I think we've got it here. If we can show the grid. So they reckon that E3, right, is the perfect example of the perfect colour tea. I think that is overstewed. I am more of a C4. I think that is the perfect colour, and it has to be Yorkshire Gold, obviously. But that is it's 4C.
No,
D-
sorry,
no.
Piers.
Isabel?
D2.
D2?
All the way.
D2,
Yeah.
Isabel. That's
Stronger
just hot
middle.
No, that's-
middle.
It's C5.
Can we see it again? Can we see it again?
It's got to be. It's got to
Keep
be
it up there.
C5.
You've got to see it all the time. Sorry, we can't take it down.
Oh,
No,
C5.
way too weak. You're C5.
Yeah,
C5.
strong and robust.
No, that's overstewed.
Yeah.
Strong.
Well, I
blow your
obviously
head
drink
off.
green tea, Piers, but if I was...
If you had it with milk,
If I had to have it with... Well, you don't have green tea
I know
with
what
milk,
you'd be.
but...
You'd be pathetically weak.
I was just going to say, why don't you guess
You'd be
what I'd
A1.
be?
You'd be, put it back. Put it back a moment. Put it back. Yeah, you would be A1.
I think
A1. And then you say, but the trouble with that is, it's racist.
I think you'll find I'd probably be a C5. My
Yeah, with me,
sister-in-law...
you see, you agree with me
my
most of the
sister-in-law's from
No,
Hartlepool.
C4.
She'd make a C5.
I'm a world expert on tea making. I've actually taught Americans how to make it, and it's C4. Anyway, it's a good debate. Thank you, Pat. Good to see you. I'm glad we all reached a position of totally disagreeing. As always more fun that way.